Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope everybody had a very great Christmas. Happy holidays. Today, I am addressing a minefield of a subject. I was asked by a client to go over some suggestions on what moms can eat better for nutrition tips, nutrition tips and things like that for moms. And I've actually been thinking about this one in the back of my head for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, trying to sort through everything to come up with a good answer. Um, and I'll start by saying, unfortunately, moms are human like the rest of us. So there are no secret foods or supplements out there that work just for moms that don't work for regular humans. What I'm trying to say is that, you know, there's not like a thing out there, a food or a supplement that works just because you're a busy mom. That's something that you're just going to have to face facts with. However, I will say, or the things that I'm about to say are really the things I've been thinking about over the past 12 or so years, watching my wife be a mom, and she has needed help and guidance and course correction throughout her time as well. Um, we raise four boys, and it's not easy all the time. And I will say that the number one thing I always have to that comes up the most that I have to bring up and remind her of is that she needs to help herself before she can help others. And I see this in a lot of moms, and it's a very, I will say, at its core, it's a very good quality character trait to have. But unfortunately, it does have its drawbacks that moms always want to sacrifice themselves for the better of their family. What ends up happening, though, is that the mom drains herself, putting her in a place where she's barely helping anybody and very much so hurting herself. So I would say that the number one thing that moms need to do is always do a life check, and make sure that their life is revolving around themselves first and their children secondly. I know that maybe some of you don't agree with that, and that sounds kind of harsh on the surface, but in reality, it's the best thing you can do for your kids. You need to help yourself first before you can help your kids. I was at a lecture, and I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. I believe the book is called something like "Willpower is a Lie" or something like that. But the quote I took away from that lecture was that um, if you do not change your environment changes you. And I see that with moms a lot. The mom has great nutrition and workout habits before getting pregnant, great nutrition and like so gung ho when they're pregnant, and in newborn years, really, really good about everything. But when the kid starts getting a little bit older, 2, 3, 4 years old, then everything starts falling apart. And they start revolving around the child when the child starts getting opinions about their food and eating habits and sleeping habits and things like that. And you need to, while also keeping yourself in check, you need to keep the child in check. That's the other thing I often see I have to bring up to Trisha's attention is, uh, and I've tried to think of a better non-inflammatory way to say this, and I don't mean anything bad by it, but moms a lot of times become doormats for their children. And the children don't mean it on the surface, but young children especially don't have the capability of thinking about anybody but themselves. That doesn't come along in development until much later in the years, if at all, unfortunately for some people. So the mothers and fathers, obviously, but this is about moms. They need to keep that in the back of their mind that the kids don't have that ability to think about the mother's well-being. The kid is not going to take into consideration your feelings, your work schedule, how tired you are, your goals and things like that. So again, it falls back on that first thing. You need to make sure that you're helping yourself. Revolve around yourself, not your child. You can't help your child if you don't help yourself first. And part of that is making sure that you keep the child's needs in check. And since this is all trying to tie in with nutrition and healthy habits and things like that, um, the thing I have seen across the board is that the less the mom cares about what the child eats and the child's physical activity, the less they care about themselves. The more the mom cares about the child's eating, what they eat, when they eat, the habits, the physical activity, the easier and the more it seems to correlate with the mom caring about what she also does. So, because what I'll see is that a mom will come in, we go over lifestyle, nutrition, we go over, healthy habits, and they start adopting them 1, 2, 3 weeks in, and then it starts falling apart because they're not changing their children's routine as well. And so they're almost living a double life, right? The mom might be trying to schedule themselves to eat at like maybe say 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, but the kids are now used to eating 8, 9 o'clock, 10, even 10 o'clock at night. And, a lot of moms are, wanting to cook for their family. So now they're cooking double dinners, double lunches, double breakfasts. It almost seems, if you look in the pantry, like two different families living in the same house, because the food selections are completely different. So again, tip number 3 is, moms, if you are trying to get yourself in shape and eat better and do better, make your kids do it as well. Kids don't always want what's best for them. They have to be told what's best for them in a lot of cases. So help yourself before you try to help others. Don't be a doormat for your kids. Make them do what's good for them. And if you're trying to eat better, work out, make sure that your kids are, to a degree, following suit. Make sure they at least recognize what you're doing. Use your journey as a teaching tool to teach them. That's how the kids in our house have learned everything. And sometimes they'll follow suit, sometimes they won't. But the fact is that they know why we're doing what we're doing, why we eat the way we eat. They see the results, they see the routines, they see the habits. In contrast, when they get sick, from eating like junk, or they feel bad from staying up late, because, we're not like, it's not like a prison in our house. They have to explore and find these things out for themselves. But when they see the results of their actions and they see the results of our actions, that contrast is a very good teaching tool for them. And when they start adopting good, healthy practices, going to bed better, eating better, going to bed earlier, and they feel those results, it sticks with them because they came upon themselves. They're not being forced into that life. Again, into the nutrition, I would say that the fourth thing for moms that I see a lot with is that the carbs. And I don't want to say like carbs are bad, but a lot with moms, they will seek out carbs throughout the day because moms are always stressed out. And they're always stressed out because of the first 3 things that we went over. They're not helping themselves, so they're run down. They're revolving around their kid's life. They're working for their kid, essentially. And, their house is still littered with all kinds of processed carbohydrates and junk food and things like that, because they're not also making their family, their kids at least, eat well when they're trying to eat well. So it's plentiful in the house. It's already there. So those 3 things right there lead to the 4th thing, which is they tend to seek out and eat a lot of carbohydrates during the day, which does 2 things. One, it's the drug. It's the drug-like effect of carbs, where it calms you down when you're stressed out. It's your like kind of comfort food. We all hear about that. It has an effect on the calming neurotransmitters. So there's that aspect of it as well. But then the bad thing about it, though, is that they don't really give you energy. They sedate you. They make for a less productive day. They're tended to be correlated with more things like brain fog and not being able to think very clearly, low energy output. So it's a cyclical effect that you have on there. You're drained because of 1 through 3. You seek out carbs, which is effect number 4, and that makes you feel worse, which just feeds into a worse 1 through 3 effect. So I would say that a lot of the moms that I work with, when they tend to push more of the carbohydrates back in the night, which is a good tip for anybody, for most people anyways, when they tend to push carbohydrates back later in the day, and the carbohydrates are more of like a part of the family meal at dinner, they tend to do better, when they are seeking out foods in their day that they know energize them, that give them energy, it doesn't give them brain fog, no bloating, no bad feelings or anything like that. When they thrive off of those foods in the day, they have more energy, they feel better, less brain fog, they are more ready to stand up and make those choices for a better 1 through 3 that we've talked about, right? Because dealing with your kids takes energy. So if you're kind of starving yourself from energy from the food that you're eating and all the bad choices and everything like that, it's going to be hard, right? So these things are all synergistic together. Starting your day off with, healthy proteins, healthy fats, trying to keep that trend going throughout the day. Only complex carbohydrates at lunch, and if any at snack times. Very, very low amounts of, not very low amounts, but keeping all the junk carbohydrates, very simple sugars more towards the evening or when you're done with your day. That tends to be, I see a better effect with moms when they do that. So again, I know most of those were not direct nutrition tips, but again, I've sat down with moms and talked for hours on end, and it makes no difference what kind of nutrition, what kind of supplements you have, what kind of workout program you have, if you do not aim for a better 1 through 3, okay? Help yourself before you help others. Make sure that you're revolving around your world, not your kids' world. Don't be a doormat for your kids, right? Involve your kids in your health journey. You don't have to drag them to the gym, but at least make them aware of what you're doing. And then be aware that when you're stressed out, when your kids are stressing you out, you're going to want to seek out those carbs. You've got to fight that, right? To an extent, and keep making the right food choices throughout the meat of your day, the big part of your day, so that you are alert and have energy and have the mental awareness to keep making the right choices every day. I hope that helps. I hope I didn't step on any toes. I tried to say that as diplomatically as I could to all the moms out there. Again, these are the things that I say to Trish routinely, and we talk about it together. It's not just a one-way street, but she agrees that those are also probably the biggest things for mom to take into consideration. And so I hope that helps. If you have any questions on this topic or any other topic, please feel free to reach out to me. Thanks for watching.